republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of Bowling Green City Council. I'm really pleased that you're all here tonight. I'm going to take advantage of being the chair and extend a special welcome to my mom and dad, Tony and Sandy Osbacher, who are in attendance this evening. Thanks for coming. Okay, would you please call the roll?
Osbacher.
Here.
Harold.
Here.
Hollenbaugh.
Here.
Jeffers.
Here.
Robinette.
Here.
Roland.
Here.
Zanfordino.
Here.
The minutes from the meeting that was held on December 16th, 2019 were presented to council prior to this meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The minutes are approved as presented. Kay, do we have correspondence this evening?
The only thing I have this evening is the financial budget summary report for the month of November 2019 was distributed to you prior to the meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you, Kay. Special recognitions, Mayor Edwards. Very good, thank you. Lobby visitation. Kay, has anyone signed up for lobby?
No, not this evening.
Great. Let's proceed then to the introduction of new legislation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I have a resolution transferring previously appropriated funds. I have an ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2019 and ending December 31, 2019.
Thank you, Bruce. Official reports. Mr. Mayor. Are there questions for Mayor Edwards?
A report for old time's sake?
Bill, I have 1 foot out the door.
Thank you, Mayor. Municipal Administrator, Ms. Treader. Questions for Lori? Thank you. Planning Director, Ms. Saylor.
We did not require the department heads to attend, although either in attendance here or report, you're welcome to do so.
Parks and Recreation Director, Ms. Otley. City Attorney, Mr. O'Connell. Anything to share this evening?
No outages.
Other questions for Mr. O'Connell? Thank you. Mr. Kraft.
No trees down.
You like it. Questions for Mr. Kraft? Very good. Thank you, everyone. Do we have council committee reports this evening? Okay, very good. Then in record time, we're going to ask Kay to read or to lead us through the reading of legislation, please.
Legislation for first reading. Resolution number 3752 for first reading. Resolution transferring previously appropriated funds.
Giving that second and third. Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move that we suspend the rules and give Resolution 3752 its second and third readings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Kay, would you please call the roll?
Harold.
Yes.
Hollenbaugh.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes. Motion passes. The rules are suspended for Resolution 3752.
Resolution number 3752 for second and third reading. Resolution transferring previously appropriated funds.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move we adopt Resolution 3752.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Kay, would you please call the roll?
Hollenbaugh.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution 3752 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8816 for first reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2019 and ending December 31, 2019.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move we suspend the rules and give Ordinance 8816 its second and third readings.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Kay, would you please call the roll?
Jeffers.
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Hollenbaugh.
Yes.
Motion passes. The rules are suspended for Ordinance 8816.
Ordinance number 8816 for second and third reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2019, and ending December 31, 2019.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move we adopt ordinance 8816.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Kay, would you please call the roll?
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 8816 is adopted.
Legislation for second reading. Ordinance number 8813 for second reading. Ordinance amending and adopting sections 150.03, 150.16, 150.55, 150.90, 150.92, and 150.103 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding zoning code regulations. Ordinance number 8814 for second reading, ordinance accepting utility easements from CECW2 LLC.
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 8814 its third reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Kay, would you please call the roll?
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Jeffers,
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Motion passes. The rules are suspended for ordinance 8814.
Ordinance number 8814 for third reading. Ordinance accepting utility easements from CECW2 LLC.
I move to adopt ordinance 8814.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Kay, would you please call the roll?
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Jeffers,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 8814 is adopted.
Legislation for third reading. Ordinance number 8811 for third reading. Ordinance to provide appropriations for the expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31, 2020.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move that we adopt ordinance 8811.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, I would just like to say I know that that there has been some dissatisfaction with the idea that we have to raise our fees for picking up our refuge and our recycling by $2. And I want to also say I'm not happy about this. No legislator is ever happy when they have to raise fees. But I just want to say once again, I don't think the problem is recycling. I don't think the problem is refuge. This city is starting to run almost yearly, just too close to our final figures that we need to meet on our general funds. And I see this problem as a general fund problem and something which we are probably going to be addressing again year after year until we do something with the general funds to change our intake a little bit on that. But I will support the legislation.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I think that I'm going to vote no on this. And I'm going to vote no for only one reason, and that's because I wish we would have spent more time discussing options to the $2. I know we will next year, because I will work hard to make sure that we all do. And I think we all understand that we need to explore options. Whether this ends up being the right solution or not for the long term, I don't think we know yet. It may be. But I would like to see a discussion similar to the one that happened in 2017, earlier in the year, and lay all of the possibilities out on the table before we come to a conclusion, at least at the end of the next budget year. I realize that that we're moving forward now, but just to be clear as to why, I like this budget. I think the city did a great job. The administration did a great job of recognizing our priorities and finding ways to make things work. But I do have some concerns about the fee, and I'd like to make the point that we need to look at some options in the future. So that's my reason.
Thank you.
Mr. President, when we discussed the amendment that Greg had to not increase the fee at the previous meeting, the discussion was closed off before I had a chance to speak, which saved 15, 20 minutes of no. But I'm going to vote in favor although I voted for not increasing the $2, but that did not pass, my preference would have been to keep it at the same rate and then revisit it after a quarter or a half a year to determine whether to raise it. I think it would have been more prudent to do that as opposed to raise it with the possibility of lowering it later. So I agree with Greg that it would have been, I think, better to not increase the rate. But since we already had a vote on that, and now it's the budget, I'll end up voting yes. But I'm in complete agreement with Greg.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I certainly am concerned about the increase, and I've heard from two people on this. It's not like I've heard from many people on this. But with recycling being perhaps at stake, I am certainly voting for the budget. But I did want to support a thought that Greg threw out at the end of the last meeting, which was he's hoping that the fiscal, the financial committee kind of redoubles its meetings next year to look at this issue and the budget going forward. So just wanted to say I'm certainly voting for the budget, but just wanted to support Greg's input at the last meeting.
Thank you. I would simply say that I agree with all of you. We must always be mindful of the impact that increase of fees are going to have on our residents. And I think that it is important that we continue to the discussion next year and make sure that we have a thorough understanding of all of the options that are potentially available to us. But I will also say that feedback that I've received in discussion of this issue has been overwhelmingly in favor of the notion that we would continue to recycle. So I think that needs to, from my perspective, that needs to be recognized, and our citizens do see it as a value to our communities. So that's something that will be important to me moving forward. But I do appreciate your comments. Okay, would you please call the roll?
Osbacher?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Robinette?
No.
Roland?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 8811 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8812 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator to enter into a contract or contracts with Republic Services for the acceptance of mixed recyclables and declaring an emergency.
You'd think after 8 years I'd know how to do this. Do I need to ask to have the emergency?
We passed.
No, we adopted last
thank
time,
you.
so just need a motion
Yep.
to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Jeffers.
I move to adopt ordinance 8812.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Harold? Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Robinette?
Mr. President, I did have a comment to make before I vote. If you indulge me.
Please.
I just want to make sure we get on the table. We spent some time talking about the one bid that we did receive, and we threw out some numbers, and we talked about the $80,000 cost that we had in 2019. And we talked about the fact that there are really a range of costs with this new, with the one bid we did receive. The high end being if there were no ACR, and on the low end if there were, and what that worked out to be is $190,025 if there were no ACR, and $164,450 from our presentation last week if the ACR was on the high end. And on top of each of those, there's the $24,000 cost of the drop-off at the Bowling Green Recycling Center. What that means is that the range for that contract ranges between $108,450 to $134,025 above and beyond the cost that we experienced in 2019. That's 168 on the high end percent increase, or 136% on the low end. The one thing we didn't really spend any time talking about that I recall, and I just want to make sure that it's covered on the record, is that there is one other option. and it may not be an appealing one, I'm pretty sure it's not, and that is to not recycle. And if we did not have curbside recycling, that 700 tons of material that had gone to the recycle center would then go to the landfill. And if it did that, I've been informed by the administration that the cost of transferring that 700 tons to the landfill rather than recycling would be about $29,204. And under that option, there'd still be a $24,000 cost of the drop-off recycling for a total of $53,200. I just want to make sure that we understand that there was a second option, or is a second option, in addition to the curbside recycling, and that is to not recycle. And the cost associated with that, again, $53,204. So that's a $26,000, nearly $27,000 reduction over the $80,000 cost of recycling that we experienced in 2019. And I think it's just important to make sure that as a body we understand costs involved in everything, not just the proposal and the bid that we're voting on, or the contract that we're voting on, but the option of not recycling. And again, I really wish we would, I'm hoping that we spend, well, I'm not hoping, I know I'll insist that we examine this in much greater detail next year, next term, and look at this. This came on us suddenly, I realized that. And I'm torn on how to approach this, but I think that recycling is the right thing to do. And in the short term, I'm voting yes. But we've got to decide as a council whether long-term we can sustain this increased cost. I think that's going to be the hard part, the hard discussion next year. Is this increased cost sustainable for us as a city? Even if we all love recycling, can we afford to do it? So I'm willing to say vote yes now, but take a hard look at it next year.
Thank you.
So yes.
Thank you.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes. Motion passes. Ordinance 8812 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8815 for third reading. Ordinance amending and adopting Section 94.01 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding definitions and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Mr. Hollenbaugh.
I move that we adopt ordinance 8815.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to say that this is about aligning our definitions with those from Ohio Revised Code 3767.32.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Jeffers,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 8815 is adopted. That completes the items on our agenda this evening. Is there any other business to come before council?
Mr. President. Oh. Well,
Mr. Robinette.
just want to take 1 minute to express my appreciation for your leadership as our president and your time on council, and to thank Bruce for 8 years of solid legislation as well, and wish you well in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate those
We'll
remarks.
see you again.
You will see me again.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold.
my deference to Greg, he took the words out of my mouth. You have led the meetings very well. I cannot picture anyone doing a better job. That makes it tough for whoever comes after you. But then again, they've had a good example. It's not easy leading the meetings, as any of us that have done it know. Even something that you would think as simple as leading the Pledge of Allegiance. You have to set the cadence, you have to remember the words, you have to, and you did it perfectly every time. And of course, I could go through the entire meeting and explain how well you did. So you'll be missed, and good news is you're only going about 12 or 13 feet up that direction. And as far as Bruce, I've had a chance to see Bruce last 8 years on council, and Bowling Green's a better city because of your service on council, and I can't really think of a better compliment than that. And so I personally, as a colleague, as a former opponent, and as a citizen, want to thank you for your faithful service.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Bill, thank you for those remarks.
Yeah,
And
that sounded like an endorsement for county commissioner.
I think you got one.
thank you. I also would echo your remarks in regards to Bruce's services. I feel the same way. Bruce has been an outstanding councilman. And as I mentioned at our last meeting, we will find a time in the not-too-distant future where we will more adequately express our appreciation for your service. In terms of this being my last council meeting, I just want to say thank you to all of you. It's been my great pleasure and honor to serve with you as a member of this body. I just have been honored and humbled by the opportunity and thankful for the opportunity to serve as your president these last number of years. I would also extend those sentiments to all of the members of council that I've had the pleasure of serving with in the past 10 years. Without fail, everyone that has served on city council in this period of time has put aside personal agendas, party affiliation, partisan politics, and focused instead on what is the right thing to do for our community and our citizens. And I am just so grateful for the opportunity to have served along with all of you. And I look forward to continue to work with you next year. If there's one thing that I have learned is that our city will function best when the legislative branch and the executive branch are working in tandem together, focused on shared goals and values. And it will be certainly a high priority of mine to continue to communicate with all of you and those that will be joining council in January to make sure that we continue to do those things in the best interest of our citizens. So thank you all very much. Is there any other business to come before council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
Since you and I will not be members of city council when the council first convenes in January, they will need somebody to lead the voting procedure. And so I think what we need to do is to have me resign as president pro tem and then have this council appoint a new pro tem so that that person can lead the first meeting. So I don't know if we need votes on this, but I resign as president pro tem.
Sorry to see you go, Bruce.
Sorry to see you go. Thanks for your
Mr. President,
We don't need to vote on it.
No, we don't need to vote on that.
Right.
I would just advance that it would seem that since Bruce has so graciously stepped aside with minutes to spare and you won't be on council, the person with the most experience having been president and leading the meeting would be John Zanfordino. So I would move, it's not really move, I'd throw out there that it would seem logical to have John lead the beginning of the meeting on whenever, when is it?
January the 6th.
A
January
week from
6th.
today.
Very good. Your nomination of Mr. Zanfordino is on the table, does not need seconded. Are there any other nominations that we want to place on the table at this?
For the job of 5 minutes
For the
of
job
president.
of 5 minutes as the president pro tem.
Well, I would like to nominate Sandy Rowland, but not if it means stepping on John's toes.
Okay.
I would like to second that.
Okay, well, we will take.
Are you declining the nomination, John?
I am declining the nomination.
Okay.
There you go.
Declining the nomination. Okay, then we are going to ask Kay to call the roll and ask
So-
council members to vote on the nomination of Sandy Rowland as
There's no other nominations.
president pro tem.
Okay.
So we're assuming there's at least one vote?
So we'll start with Jeffers,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland. You can vote for yourself.
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Hollenbach.
Yes.
Very good. No nomination is passed. Ms. Rowland is president pro tem. There's no other business to come before council at this point. I would ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We are adjourned.